because we have to record it.
All right. I'm gonna move this thing.
It's fine. Oh, we're good? Okay. Are we good? We're good. Okay, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't want to be on nothing.
I had to wait until now that we're live streaming, had to make sure that everything was good video. I'm told it is, so I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is the Ad Hoc Committee for AI and Electronic Device Use Policy. So I welcome everyone here today, particularly my committee members, but everybody else here. It's really good to see you. First thing we're going to do is approve last meeting's minutes from the November 18th meeting. So do I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Thank you so much. With the motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you so much. Based on our meeting back in November, Mr. Webb made edits to the policy draft that he had given to us then, based on our feedback at that meeting. And that was all sent out to everyone. You also have a copy in front of you today. Before I ask for Mr. Webb to speak to that, I just want to clarify, because this is something that I have to constantly remind myself, as well as constituents, et cetera, about our job as a policy board. This policy is not intended to describe how we're going to do the things in the policy. This is to provide direction to the district on what our guidelines are going to be, et cetera. So I do think, as I was reading through this the other day, I do have some questions about how we're going to carry out, for example, monitoring certain things, et cetera, but that is to be determined by the district. Once we set the policy, once we agree as a board that this is going to be our policy, then we will ask the district to then carry that out and maybe even bring additional information to us at a later date about how those things are being addressed. So I just wanted that for the record to be clarified for everyone. That being said, Mr. Webb, I'm going to turn it over to you to speak to what changes you've made or what additions you may have done, and then we'll open it up for questions, comments, feedback, et cetera.
Sure, thank you. So from the last meeting, one of the comments that were made by a few of the members of the committee is that they wanted to make sure that there's consistency among the schools with the use and implementation of AI. So what I've done with addressing that comment and concern is on page 2 of the document. You can see about halfway down on page 2, added a sentence in there to really emphasize that the administration will develop and implement consistent procedures to make sure that there are consistent practices with regard to AI as it pertains to classes and assignments and curriculum. Again, AI, and Dr. Stevens can talk more about this, and obviously she has been a great asset in helping me draft this policy along with her team. But AI is a tool for schools, not required, but it is a valuable tool that can be implemented and used. But again, to echo the committee's comments from last time, it needs to be consistent throughout schools for its availability and use. The additional change that I made is really to Ms. Mosley's point, and that was a comment made by some of the committee members last time, is with regard to details. Effective policy making for school boards is to develop a strong policy, but not get too much into the weeds. And so what this recognizes with the last addition to this on page 2 at the very bottom is it requires and recognizes that the superintendent will develop additional parameters and procedures to enhance and go into greater detail of this policy. Obviously, those details and specifics will be consistent with the language of the policy. It's the policy language is the framework that will be used to develop the administrative rule. By your own policy, the administrative rule will be provided to the school board to make sure that you are aware of the specific procedures that are being developed throughout the school district. I will work with Susan, Dr. Stevens, and her team in helping develop those administrative rules. Obviously, Dr. Royster will be heavily involved, Dr. Turn, and others. So that will be over the next few months that we really dive in deep into those details. But this policy language recognizes that that will be forthcoming. And those are the changes that I've made over the last month.
Thank you so much, Mr. Webb. Could I ask you, just for the record, because there is obviously so much interest in this topic, could you clarify or define the difference between a policy and an administrative rule for everyone's benefit? Because I know we're using that term around here and we know what it is, but people who are watching live feed may not.
So I guess one analogy, and maybe I'll start with this, is far as state law or federal law. You know, you have a law, and then you have regulations that will go into greater detail. So law will be broader, regulations with more detail. So you have that within state laws, federal law, things of that nature. And, you know, the administration is tasked day in, day out with the administration of your policy and the procedures. And those details should be left in an administrative rule. I mean, hence the term administrative rule that accompanies a board policy. Again, the policy is broader, was used to help develop the administrative rule. Nothing can be inconsistent with that policy, right? It all has to mirror each other, but it's just with additional detail.
Thank you. I just think it's important to understand that, or for everybody to understand that as well. All right, so I will open the floor up to questions now. Comments? Thoughts from my committee? Go ahead, Ms. Goodwin-Caldwell.
When you referenced the middle of the second sheet, Doug, I was reading down there, it says inappropriate use of AI, including plagiarism, will result in discipline in accordance with board policy, including board policy JCDA. How will we determine that it's plagiarism, because AI pulls from everywhere? How would that be determined?
Well, I think Dr. Stevens can talk about it probably better than I can. I will start off by saying that certainly teachers and schools through academics will have certain requirements for assignments, whereas perhaps AI can be used as a certain component, but not for the entire assignment. It has to be your own work, that kind of thing. And so there's a difference from and I'm no educator. I'll preface it by saying that, but by still making sure that the assignment is yours without just almost copying something off of AI. And I think that's the key difference.
In addition to expand on what Mr. Webb was saying, there are tools that we can use that would help us identify plagiarism, meaning there are things that teachers can run high school level essays through to determine if a certain amount of words are immediately copied from a digital source or a different source. When you're talking about AI, to your original point, that's a little bit more difficult because that is continuously evolving. But teachers, part of our charge for them is to know their students, to know their voice, to know the way they speak, to know the way that they communicate. And teachers are a great first line of defense to be able to judge if that's really your quality of work, or is this something that you very knowingly got some assistance with or some help with, and then to ask additional information. Also remembering too that for us specifically, the tools that we're using with our assignments are part of our Magic School platform, and that is all controlled by the district. So there are certain ways that we could investigate that if we had to, especially in terms of a disciplinary issue. But there are some things that we would have to nail down to be able to provide that guidance to schools to make sure that we are fairly supporting students, but also ensuring that it is not something that is being used to impact or to inflate grades or student assignments.
Thank you.
Much. Does anybody else have any questions? Ms. Middleton?
I don't know if this is specifically related to the policy, but if it's not, let me know and I'll start. Do we have, first of all, how do we ensure privacy? Like, there's been a lot of comment lately in the news about so many of these big companies being able to find out information about people and then using that to kind of propagate more marketing, I suppose? Is that part of the magic school that we don't have to worry about that?
I'll say a little bit and then turn it over to Dr. Stevens. So with any third party that we use, Magic School or otherwise, we have, one, we vet through academics, through technology, ETS, and we also have a data sharing agreement with them that goes into great detail about privacy and the requirements under FERPA and federal law, as far as all kinds of obligations that the company has, that we have, and it all is very, very specific and detailed. So there is a long process ahead of using any company or third party to make sure that, one, they're credible, reputable, and a solid product with all of the protections that we can have for our students, right? Because that we take that very seriously. So there is an agreement in place, which is required by law, but we go beyond what is required by law in those agreements. I spend oftentimes several weeks negotiating with the company's attorneys on those details to make sure they are as strong and ironclad as we can get. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Stevens, see if she has anything else to add.
I don't really have anything additional to add. Mr. Webb is correct. We spend a lot of time vetting those resources and making sure that the things that we are choosing to put in front of students do not have the opportunity for them to learn information about our students for advertising or for identification.
That's good to know.
We also spent considerable time that we spent on the whole Southwest meeting about making sure they all thoroughly understand, because they have to make sure their teachers and other faculty thoroughly understand. You don't take anything related to our students and go out with some open source AI. It's got to be with one that has been vetted, that a DSA has been, data sharing agreement has been negotiated, and we know that our data is being protected. That's not an issue with inside that confines of the Magic AI that we use with students. But our teachers, counselors, et cetera, they have to be aware they can't simply take something that has our student information in it and use something that might be on their personal device or their personal phone. Can they use it to write anything, to write a lesson plan? They can. But they can't use something that includes our student data in it. Names, date of birth, anything that might cause a student to be personally identifiable. So that's something that has to be constantly a reminder to all of us, and that we have to constantly be vigilant about, is that we don't let any of that information get out in open source AI.
That was my next question, so thank you for that. That's very comforting. Are tests AI generated to the teachers? I know they can't send AI tests home, it's my understanding, but are the tests themselves generated by the teachers using AI? And if so, are they able to share those information with parents if need be, or things like that?
So many of our unit assessments are created through our academics department, and they're linked through our curriculum maps that we provide for schools. And we do that so that we have consistency and continuity across our district. But certainly, individual teachers could use AI to generate questions for any sort of assessment. It could be for a quiz or for a daily review. And that could actually be a great use of AI as long as the teacher understands what that standard is and to ensure that that question is aligned to that standard. Anything that is teacher generated through AI or through collaborative planning, those are things that can be shared with parents. Those are resources that are developed at the classroom level that can be used instructionally, can use for assessment, and that information could be shared with family, or could be sent home with students if a teacher chose to.
That's good, thank you very much.
So much, Ms. Middleton. Anyone else?
just gonna, thank you. Dr. Stevens, also, I just want to reiterate that you have stated not all teachers are going to be using AI, and that they do get special lessons and services, et cetera, assistance. And then there are others that will utilize it more so than some. So I just wanted to make sure we're all on that same page. All right, thank you.
Any other questions from? Okay, I just would like a point of clarification. I understand this, but I just want to make sure, from a public standpoint, the context of our policy here is geared towards the AI platform, which is Magic School, that we have chosen as a district to use. This is not applicable to, we're not giving approval or whatever to go out to ChatGPT or, all this open market AI. So, because I think sometimes people hear AI policy and they think it applies to AI as a whole. And we are specifically working within the context and the confines of the AI platform that we've chosen with all the safeguards and everything that Dr. Royster has spoken to, as well as Mr. Webb. Is that, okay, just making sure we're all on the same page on that. All right. Any other questions before, comments before? Do you have one more? Okay. So, Doug, I'm going to ask a procedural question here. There is a motion today, so this is to my committee. Thank y'all for being here again, to approve the policy, the way it's been presented to us today with the edits and the changes and the new draft that Mr. Webb has prepared for us. And then if we vote to approve this today, then we will move this to the board at the next board meeting. Is that how it works?
Yes, that often is how it works.
Okay.
Now, occasionally, and I'm not saying it's necessary here, could also bring it to the committee of the whole
That's what I
in
meant.
February.
Yep.
So you have two options, really.
Okay.
Either go directly to the board meeting in 2 weeks for approval, which is allowable because this committee approved it, so then it would only take one reading at the full board. Or you could go start it in February at the committee of the whole, have additional discussion, and then 2 weeks after that, approve it at the February board meeting.
Okay, so we can talk about that, which way to go later. But my question, I guess, more is the next step is to bring it to the whole board in some capacity.
Right.
Okay, all right. Are we all okay with that? The next steps, there's no other edits at this point? Okay, good. All right, so I just need a maker of the motion.
So let me clarify, because I'm hearing two things. So I'm going to make a motion to approve this to go to the committee of the whole, so all of the board members would be able to have a say and think about it before we vote on it at the board meeting.
And I don't think that's the problem. At least I don't have a problem with that. It was more of, I think my question to Mr. Webb was more the next step is to bring it before the whole board in capacity. Right. Okay. Right.
Committee of the whole.
That's the whole board.
He said you could do it at the board meeting.
I understand. But that was really not the question. Sorry.
What's the question?
Do we need to make that? I don't even think we need that as a motion, do we?
Well, so to frame this all up.
Sorry.
So it sounds pretty unanimous to me.
Yeah.
That the next step from this committee would be to bring this to the committee of the whole in February. And so with that understanding, I believe that you could just make a motion to approve these revisions as presented.
Thank you. All right.
I make the recommended motion to approve the revision of board policy IA as presented.
Okay, I have a maker of the motion by Ms. Goodwill Caldwell and a second by Ms. Morrison Fair. Any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, so the motion carries. Thank you so much. So it looks like we will be adding this to the agenda for the committee of the whole in February.
Correct.
Okay, fantastic. I so appreciate everybody today.
Thank you, everybody, for all the hard work.
Motion to adjourn, correct? Motion to adjourn. Second. All right.